Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Monday, January 11th, 2020. This is the Dojo Live recap show where we recap last week's shows and highlight the key things that we enjoyed for the audience in about 10 minutes. So I'm joined today by Carlos Ponce in Cuernavaca, Mexico. Hi,
Thank
Carlos. Good
you.
to have you.
Hi, Tulio. Morning.
And I'm Tulio Sergusa, broadcasting from Southern California. So a lot happened last week.
Oh, yeah.
A lot happened last week, but when it comes to Dojo Live, we're going to focus on what happened in our little microcosm of the world. And we had two shows last week. The
Yep.
first show we had was with Yassif Mohamed Ali, who's the CEO of SimOps. And the topic was developers and security, a love-hate relationship. An interesting conversation there. And then we had the second show was customer experience, the new era of customer success with Anisha Patel, who is the senior director of customer success management at Cisco. So both were really great shows. The first one was a little bit more technical, but I really enjoyed the conversation with Yassif about the dilemma that developers have had for as long as we can remember, right? Which is, speed to develop a product versus the security requirements for the code. And often what's happened historically is you build a product and then the enterprise that adopts it worries about securing it and has the security officers and the technology and the tools to ensure cybersecurity against hacking. Unfortunately, that has not proven very effective in recent years and even in recent months. So there's got to be another way, potentially, to start securing the code of software at the source when it's actually being developed. And they've developed tools which doesn't require developers to now have to choose between speed and security. They've got workflows and they've built the right set of solutions, at least that's what they profess, that enables developers to be able to code while still having very strict security measures, which ensures a more secured product when it rolls out and becomes available to the enterprises. So if you guys missed that show, check it out. A lot of things, a lot of good comments, a lot of great ideas to take note of. You can certainly do that anytime on our site. And again, the topic of the show was developers and security, a love-hate relationship. You can search that on our search box and find that show if you have any troubles looking at it on the site. Carlos, what came up for you for that show or the other show?
Actually, Tulio, I'd like to comment on the other show that we had, the conversation with Anisha Patel, or Anisha Sivakumar, I'm sorry, the Senior Director and Customer Success Management at Cisco. I mean, the first thing that struck me was I would, before I started communicating with Anisha, I would, when you hear the word go, well, the word itself conjures a bunch of images, very, very high end, very high tech, very hardware oriented type of ideas and such. But it was very interesting to not only discover that Cisco has a very large software as a service component or division. But beyond that, you would assume that customer success. Why would a company like Cisco even bother about uh, customer success at all? I mean, at the software as a service level that we're normally used to, right? Maybe smaller operations or maybe more consumer oriented types of services. What really struck me, Tuli, about this conversation was the concept of company-wide transformation and how Anisha made a very good point and elaborated on the idea that offering customer support, successful customer support, involves a lot of people, involves everybody at the company, and it's not just one person sitting behind the desk with the phone just taking calls or rants or whatever, right? It's about conveying across the company what I would freely call a collective sense of place about the company, and how it all eventually it all boils down to making the company's customers and clients happy, not just with the operation of, I mean, with a transaction at a transactional level, but also beyond that, and permeating into the loyalty and long-term loyalty, and how the company retains their customers and their for the long term. So that's what really struck me and pulled my attention to Leo, and that's what I can tell you. It was a really fun conversation, the way we conducted it and all that. I think that the way that Cisco opens up through its team, just like the way it did with through Anisha, it was really, really fulfilling and satisfactory, and it made me really feel good about a company like Cisco.
Yeah, it was definitely a good show. For anyone who's missed it, should check it out. There's some great insights you'll be able to glean from that show. First of all, the idea that if you're a transaction-based business, which most hardware companies are, your transactions usually once a year or every 2 years, right? So the idea of customer success or relationship management is very different than if you're a software company that is trying to get adoption for your product, right? The more adoption, the more stickiness, the more long-term retention opportunity with those clients. And of course, there's a lot of big businesses like Cisco who started in the hardware business, which is very transactional, who have now moved into the software or in the hybrid business. And even companies like Dell, right? They've moved from hardware to provide services as well and software. So the old separation between hardware and software is kind of blurring these days, especially with IoT and smart devices that are embedded with software. So the way you manage those relationships has to also evolve, right? You can't just be a sales-driven organization that just gets the client in and then hands it over to someone to manage it, called customer success, right? So what was interesting is the process of transforming an organization that is customer success driven from day one, from the time the relationship starts with sales all the way through the point of deployment, implementation, support, and renewal. And that is certainly a big journey for organizations that they need to make that transformation. But a lot of lessons learned, even about how you compensate people, right? How you get alignment between people. So there was definitely a lot of interesting points that came out of that show. I encourage anyone who's struggling with that journey, or at least has started that journey, to check it out. You might get some points from there that might be useful. Anyway, what do we got coming up this week, Carlos?
Well, Tulio, I know that a lot of people out there, many of our guests are just like us. We're starting the year and we're starting to get a little busy and crazy. It's hectic. So unfortunately, we now have a couple of slots open, Tuesday and Thursdays. But fortunately, we have one awesome guest who's going to be joining us on Wednesday, and we are going to be speaking with Andrea Clough. I hope I pronounced it correctly, Andrea Clough. And the topic is going to be, let's see what we have here. Why, should be interesting. Software engineers cannot say no. In other words, we're going to elaborate on why she says it's not about how to say no, it's about what we say yes to. So that's the topic that Andrea is has 10 years of experience and well-respected corporate expertise and experience in finance, HR, project management, all of these areas in tech. So her entire info and bio is going to be right there on the DojoLIVE website right before this show is over. So folks, rush there. Look who our awesome guest is going to be, and make sure you join us right here on DojoLIVE at 12 noon on Wednesday. And of course, to stay on top of what we're doing on DojoLIVE, sign up for our newsletter, our updates, so that you can always be kept abreast on who's going to be joining us on our DojoLIVE interviews and conversations. I'm sorry, better put, DojoLIVE Tech Without Borders, the stories that bring us together.
Thanks, guys. Time's up. We'll speak with you soon. Cheers.